Hello, Bronies UK. This is a video response to my fellow co-host Knowlsy, who posted a video up very recently, where he was talking about the negativity that surrounds the MLP fanbase. To be specific, to quote his title, a discussion, the negativity and labelling that seems to surround the MLP fanbase. Well, it's 10 o'clock in the evening. I have coffee. Shall we talk about this? Shall we talk about this? Because it did occur to me that we could probably do like an insane 5-hour video talking about this with in-depth investigation and study, because it's never gone away. The thing is, although the Brony fanbase, the My Little Pony fanbase, is very much entrenched on the internet and is entrenched across the world. I mean, there are pony conventions in the UK, there are pony conventions in Europe, there are pony conventions in America. Hell, there's even pony conventions in Russia, which is just, when you kind of think about it, it's like, there are Bronies in Russia, and I know there have been conventions, My Little Pony conventions in Russia. So you kind of think to yourself, wow, there's obviously, it's very, oh wow. It just baffles your mind, that, doesn't it? That, yeah, they actually are able to get away with it in Russia. Obviously, I guess, you know, certain person in Russia's probably got more important things to worry about right now than MLP. But anyway, we're putting aside politics here. Wow, the negativity surrounding it, mate. You couldn't have picked a more broad topic. You really couldn't. I mean, let's be blunt. You are always going to get negativity. You're always going to get people bashing the fan base. But the interesting thing is there's literally there's three ways actually we could look into this. So we could kind of look at how it all began. Like, if you sort of look at MLP, the Brony fanbase, if you look at the Brony fanbase, sort of pre-season 3, the Brony fanbase wasn't kind of hugely known about. And it wasn't until, you know, kind of like season 4, but if we go chronologically within the series, so just to try and use it as a time order, that by season 4, people knew there was a big fan base. There's been documentaries about it, you know, on YouTube. There'd even be a BBC bit about it, and even an ITV bit about it. So, you know, in the UK, people knew about it. And then, as it progressed and became wider known about, that's when we end up with all the haters and all the backlash and all the negativity. Now, you'll never get rid of it. You'll always have negativity. But it's interesting that MLP, as a community, probably has the most haters, the most negativity, and the most backlash. And I think in a way we can probably agree that is because for a lot of people outside looking in, they see the vast majority of the fan base being adult males who are interested in a series that is aimed at 6-year-old girls. You know, that's probably that is the demographic. That is what it's aimed at. Obviously, we could have a 25-year-old woman, you know, be a fan, you know, go to ponycons, dress up as a favourite character, cosplay, talk about it, probably, you know, could walk around wearing an MLP t-shirt, and, you know, no one would care. The thing is, at least from my sort of own experience and my own knowledge, and by all means, any ladies out there that are fans of MLP, feel free to jump into this, you know, if you want to correct me on this, pop a comment, do a response, you know, but just as far as I'm aware, you're more than likely going to get the stigmata and the hate and the abuse and the negativity if you're a bloke. You're not going to get it as much, or if any, if you are a woman. And in one side, in one point, you could have a girl dressed up in a Twilight Sparkle cosplay as an example. Nobody really, I don't think anybody would blink an eyelid. You have a bloke walk down the street wearing a My Little Pony t-shirt, they're probably going to get a lot of odd looks and maybe even some abuse. Now, speaking about that on a broader term, as Knowlsy would be able to confirm. I mean, whenever when we've done live streams on our channel and we've specifically Brony stuff and we've been on the channel, yeah, we've had to monitor the live chat because we have had people come on. Some people outright just throwing abuse at you. Other people try to be subtle, like the trolls that'll sort of might start off being friendly, but then slowly will start going down where they'll very much be taking the piss, or they'll just start being abusive. But on one side, there's the haters, and then on the really weird side, there's what I can only describe as the anti-brony movement, which is really weird, which I only really know a bit about because I've only really noticed it within the last year. But it's a really weird thing. So to sort of mention the anti-brony movement, it's largely on YouTube, but there are channels on YouTube that are very much dedicated to being anti-brony, like anti-My Little Pony community. And a lot of what they do is kind of taking a lot of what the brony community has done. Anything from animation, artwork, fanfics, everything like that. I'm bashing and smashing the hell out of it. And quite literally saying why this is bad. Now, a lot of the time they will look for certain things. They might look for animations that might be not child friendly, animations that might have a bit of violence in them, or fanfics that have violence in them. For example, one of the most notorious creepypasta MLP fanfics is Cupcakes, which I've read Cupcakes. It's an incredibly well written fanfic, but it's spine tingling. It really is. And if you listen to the audio, because someone's done like an actual proper audio book for it, I believe the whole thing's on YouTube, and it's a bit eerie, considering it deals with Pinkie Pie effectively as a serial killer. But that is an example, because there are people that will use that as an example as to why the brony community is bad. Be on the lines of they're taking a child's TV show and turning it into something bad. That would be the argument. You will always get negativity towards this fan base. I mean, me personally, I've had. I mean, the only place I've ever faced it directly is on YouTube. So that's really the only place I've ever had it. Largely just in the comment section. Like I said, either on the live streams or just on videos that I've uploaded. The unfortunate thing is you'll always get it, but I suppose the one question we can ask ourselves is why is it kind of coming back? Because the bizarre thing is, when Gen 4 ended, when it ended, some of these, negativity, negative people, trolls, haters, whatever you want to call them, some of them outright were just kind of like, it's over. Like, they had this whole notion of saying, especially on Twitter, kind of saying, that this is going to mark the end of the Brony fan base. It'll die out. It'll just become a bookmark in history on the internet type of thing. And they kind of implied, a lot of fans of the show probably just let it die and stopped being interested. Of course, that didn't happen. Why would it? But it kind of really weird because a lot of the haters sort of disappeared for a while on Twitter. I mean, no doubt they didn't. They still hung around YouTube because obviously there's loads of Brony channels and they were still very active even after Gen 4. Loads of stuff to talk about, blah, so on, so forth. But regarding when Gen 5 was announced, that's when you had like this weird resurgence of haters. Again, this is Twitter because I noticed this when back when Gen 5 was announced. I did notice a lot of backlash. So, a lot of people who obviously had an issue with the Brony fanbase ultimately went down the path of saying, oh great, this will bring back all those bronies, all those weirdos, they'll all come back now because of this. Although it definitely caused a resurgence, it never went away either. And the issue will always be that you'll always have haters. Now, as I say, the main issue, the main thing with the haters is I think it all does and will and always will stem from the fact that they would judge the male fans, not the female fans. Right? Again, any of you Pegasisters out there, if you feel free to, drop a comment on this video because I probably am wrong. I have no doubt that female fans of MLP have faced abuse. I'm no doubt they have. But just looking at it from a male perspective, a bloke is more than likely to face abuse of some kind than a woman is if they were, wearing a My Little Pony t-shirt. Like, if let's say we took PonyCon. Okay, so let's use this as an example, right? So obviously, let's say we had PonyCon, and everybody in the queue was a lady. Yeah, it was just women, girls, young, old, all that stuff, just women, right? And let's say vast majority of them were all cosplaying. They were dressed up as their favourite characters, their favourite OC characters, everything in between. Guarantee there'd probably be very little eye looking. Most people would just see it as some convention, some cosplay thing. Hell, you might even get a lot of people going up to them and wanting to take pictures with them. Now, I'm being, as I said, I'm looking at this primarily from the perspective of a male perspective here. So this is the way I'm kind of looking at this. Now, you flip that around and you just had it queue completely lads, right? All males. Now, obviously, at PonyCon, it is, men and women, boys and girls. It is a mix. But anyway, if it was just all males, right? And, everyone's same situation, all dressed up as the characters, guarantee you're going to get a ton of weird looks, probably a lot of abuse. Now, as someone who has frequented PonyCon 4 times now, I will be honest, I've never seen any issues, while waiting to go into the con. Never seen any issues in the con. I've never seen anybody, being abusive towards anyone outside. I've never seen anybody, go in and cause problems. I've never seen that. Whether or not that's ever happened, I don't know. Yeah, I will admit that, yeah, I'd probably say 90% of people that walk past when, in Saturday morning when everyone's queuing to go in at like sort of 9:30 when the doors open, most people don't even blink an eyelid. I mean, I kind of get the impression most people in Nottingham are probably, used to the PonyCon and probably don't really care. You do get some odd looks. You do get the odd person or little group of people that might look a bit, what the hell's going on there? That's a bit weird. Probably think, and you might get maybe a few people that are going to kind of start laughing at you. Um, Apparently this year there was a group of teenagers, college students, who apparently got a bit of a telling off by somebody. I think it might have been one of the somebody who was at the convention. I just heard apparently they got a bit of an earful when they kind of made the mistake of trying to take the piss of everybody who was in the queue. At least that's what I heard. But anyway, so back to the point at hand. So it all falls back again. I actually did have a bit of a conversation at PonyCon last weekend when I was there, with a few people, and again, this is just again my sort of the way I'm looking at it. So a lot of it, I think, is to do with society. Now, society is a very complex thing, but if we boil society down to, again, coming from this completely from the male view, because you know I can't exactly come from it from the female view, so that's not something I can really do. But anyway, putting it from the male perspective, from my perspective, and from the perspective of society, when you're a bloke, this is probably part of the issue with the negativity. So, society often says that if you are a man, you must be tough, you must be strong, you must be the provider, you must be, not show weakness. You basically have to be the alpha. Society effectively sets men up from a very young age, and is basically telling them that you have to be strong. You can't be weak. You have to be strong. And society will say to men, that you're responsible for this, responsible for that. Society will state that, you can. Society would basically say that this, as an adult male, this is wrong. This isn't how society would deem me. So I've got up here. We've got all my this is my anime collection on the shelves. A bit disorganised at the moment because I've recently had to clean all the shelves up and demold everything, because this is a very basic converted shed that was a home office at one point. And long story short, yeah, it's not the best. But anyway, point aside, society would very much have an issue with something like this. I mean, society would have an issue with, this little Scootaloo, for example. I can guarantee if I came into work and I sat down at my desk and I had little Scootaloo here and I put her on my desk, somebody would probably say something. Or it would go around work fast. It may not, who knows. But, it would probably be frowned upon in some way. Whoops, knocked off Ekins. The funny thing is, though, Pokemon. So a little Pikachu here. If I say I walk down the street wearing a t-shirt with a Pikachu on, nobody would really care. Because, Pokemon is seen as it's a huge thing, it's got a huge fan base, and vast majority of people in public, out and about, probably wouldn't care, right, if I was wearing a Pikachu t-shirt. If I was wearing a Digimon t-shirt, probably wouldn't care. Because even though not a lot of people know what Digimon is, it's nowhere near as popular as Pokemon, probably wouldn't really be too bothered by it. Maybe you might get a few looks, but, doubt many people would be interested. Let's say I was in my own home, okay? Which is something I'm working on, by the way. you know, fingers crossed. I'm aiming for 2 years, people. If I, you know, to get a to save money for a house. A deposit, that's the word I was looking for. But anyway, I'm not going to here talk about me. But anyway, so using this transformer here. So this is a convention exclusive, as you can see. Now, obviously this is a collectible item. Now, if you were to have transformers, just again as an example, in a, say, glass display case, and say, I don't know, this is in your flat, let's say, or in your house, you've got some friends round or some guests round or somewhere, and they saw this glass case and it's got Transformers stuff in it. Again, probably wouldn't be bothered, because Transformers is a very male orientated thing. You know, it's action figures that transform into robot warriors. The series has got a lot of action in it. Again, society would dedicate that and say, you know, it's alright for boys and men to be interested in stuff like this. You know, they probably wouldn't be too bothered that an adult male was still had a few of these collecting rise, wouldn't be cared. We go back to My Little Pony and say that same glass cabinet is full of MLP stuff, figurines, artwork, plushes, whatever, and let's say, you know, you're a 30-year-old bloke living on his own, whether it be a flat house, doesn't matter. Guaranteed, that would definitely cause a lot of odd looks, a lot of odd stuff. Would no doubt start things on the rumour mill. The rumour mill being social media, Facebook, Twitter, Discord, Instagram, whatever. Definitely people would start talking. In fact, you can guarantee that people would probably start to question that bloke's sexuality, because, you know, there'd be no way in hell a straight guy would be interested in My Little Pony. He must be gay. Point in fact, society backlash. You know, it's the whole thing with society. Society is, how can I put this? Society is almost built to judge men, and that's why a bloke, any men that are MLP fans, are going to get judged a hell of a lot, because society says it's wrong for us to like that. No, society says, you know, men should like action figures and rock music and you know, lots of other things. But the point is, society is the issue. There'll always be haters. There always will be. Now, one of the things we actually ended up talking about at PonyCon last weekend about this actual subject, interestingly enough, was, as a whole, let's go look at the UK as a sort of example. Acceptance is something that is slowly becoming more common, but you'll never have 100% acceptance, ever. There's always going to be people that hate things that are different. Now, I'm going to be very open about something here. Very open about something. Okay? And to be perfectly honest, it's not something I would normally be very open about, but, you know, I'll be open about this bit. So, the way somebody can view something can be heavily impacted by their generation. Now, I know that's a bit cliche, but if you're talking from a male perspective, then yes, the age of that man, the generation gap, that can be a thing as to why that person may not like or agree with things that are outside of social norms. Now, obviously, Bronies, Pegasisters are all ages, right? You've got the young, 6, 7, 8 years old, all the way up to people in their 40s, even 50s. One of my previous job, there's a lady who is actually a Generation 1 MLP fan. I mean, she grew up watching MLP in the 80s. So, she's a Generation 1. So she's obviously, about probably 10 years older than me, So the point is that, that's like a Gen 1 generation. Now, one of the things that I'm going to be completely honest about is is my dad. So my dad is a good example of generation different. He is very judgmental about people, and specifically things that people might be into, or the way people dress, or the way people act. I'll be blunt, he's kind of a hypocrite, because, this is a man who on many occasions has rattled on about basically rattled on about where we live and all that, and goes on about how, that the people here are all, really accepted and all that, and because it's because of the history, blah 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 blah, and the only thing most people here are interested in is what rugby team do you support, blah 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 blah. But for a man who goes on about that, who will openly judge anyone who strays away from, let's be honest, the male path, yeah. So there's a specific reason why he does not know I am a fan of My Little Pony. Put it this way, he actually thinks when I went to PonyCon last week, I was at a Star Wars convention, because for some weird reason he seems to think that if I Comic Con is Star Wars. I don't know where he gets that from. He generally seems to think if I go to a Comic Con, I'm going to a Star Wars convention. But anyway, beside the point. He'd probably have a lot to say if you showed him one of the documentaries about Bronies. I guarantee you he'd have a lot to say, and it'd be very negative. Now, this is a man who had a lot to say, and it was very negative when he saw a group of fairies. Basically, in the town I live in, there is actually a large geek community, and I know there is a fairy community as well, and they actually do have meetups. And last year there was a fairy photo meetup thing where loads of local fairies met up and were doing a big photo thing. And I actually saw it. I was actually with my dad and walking through the city centre at the time. And of course, he had loads of stuff to say. Most of the stuff was very negative. And I said, so this is the way I'm looking at it. That my dad's of a generation who are incredibly judgmental, because his generation were all pretty much, kind of starting work at 16 and focusing on the future. And I'm not saying that, I'm not doing that. But what I mean is, their generation was very different. As a result, I would often say not everyone in my dad's generation, but a lot of that generation are probably the ones that are more judgmental, just because they're from a time where, anything that a man that was different in certain areas would be seen as a social outcast. Would probably even be deemed as a wouldn't be deemed in a very nice way. So ultimately, I would say that the negativity and the haters is a combination of I can't really say it is a combination fully of a generational gap, because I doubt any of the trolls on the internet are like 55, 60 years old. But it's definitely a part of society. Although society is changing, and in a way society now is a lot more accepting than it would have been 35, 40 years ago, it's still never going to be 100%. You're always going to get haters, and that is an unfortunate fact. So, all I can really say to everybody out there: ignore haters, ignore the negativity, ignore it. There's nothing wrong with being a fan of My Little Pony. There's nothing wrong with being a fan of Star Wars. There's nothing wrong with being a fan of Transformers. There's nothing wrong with being a fan of anime. You know, nothing being a fan of Polly Pocket or Sailor Moon or He-Man or Build-A-Bear or Care Bears or Batman, Superman, Lego. You know, there's nothing wrong. If you enjoy it, if you enjoy collecting Lego or Batman or MLP or Transformers, go for it. Because at the end of the day, life is crap. Life is crap. You know, life is getting up, going to work 5 days a week, so we can get paid every month, so we can pay our bills, pay our rent, pay our mortgages, buy food. You know, and at the end of the day, life is crap. So, if you enjoy something, enjoy it. If you enjoy playing games, if you play games, enjoy reading, read. You enjoy My Little Pony, enjoy My Little Pony. Watch it. Buy things for it. Enjoy that part of you. Because at the end of the day, that's how you beat the haters. And at the end of the day, that's how we all get through life. This has been Firestorm, aka Sam, your co-host of Bronies UK. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great night. I probably won't sleep, this is a lot of coffee. Cheers for watching. Bye for now.